Welcome to the Chronicler's Desk. You know that feeling, right? That weirdly modern, nagging sense of just nothing, where you've got a million things you could do, but absolutely nothing you want to do. Well, today, we're going to unpack the hidden history of that exact feeling, boredom.
I mean, be honest. Are you? Maybe you're watching this, but you're also scrolling on your phone. You've got a bunch of other tabs open, just searching for that next little hit of something interesting. You're swimming in an ocean of options, but you still feel this kind of empty listlessness.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? These are the exact symptoms of 21st century boredom. It's this bizarre paradox of our age. We have more entertainment than ever, yet we're all constantly trying to hack or escape this feeling with the next podcast, the next show, the next thing in our cart.
Okay, now let's get into it, because this is where a personal feeling blows up into a massive historical mystery. We're going to explore this wild idea that boredom isn't some fundamental part of being human, but something we actually invented.
So, to even begin to understand this, we've got to go way back to a world where the basic ingredients for modern boredom just didn't exist. Let's take a look at how our hunter-gatherer ancestors actually lived.
What's so wild about this is how it completely flips our whole idea of work on its head. For hunter-gatherers, the things they had to do to survive, hunting, gathering, it was basically a form of play. It was varied, it was challenging, it was like solving a puzzle every day. They did it with their friends, socially, and here's the kicker. It was pretty much optional. If you didn't feel like hunting today, you just didn't. You can't get bored when your life doesn't have that grinding repetition, that sense of obligation.
Now hang on. This doesn't mean our ancestors were just skipping through the fields happy all the time. Oh no. They definitely had their own downtimes, their own forms of listlessness. It's just that what they felt wasn't boredom. It was something else entirely.
So, for example, in the Middle Ages, monks talked about something called acedia. And this wasn't just feeling a little meh. This was a full-blown spiritual crisis. It was this deep, gnawing despair, a feeling that God's creation had lost all its meaning. It wasn't about not having enough to do. It was a sickness of the soul. You weren't bored with your free time. You felt disconnected from the entire universe.
And then there was another flavor of this restlessness the Romans talked about. The philosopher Seneca called it tedium. Now, this wasn't a spiritual crisis. This was a problem for the 1%, the powerful elite guys who had stepped away from running the empire. It was the frustration of a brilliant mind with no great, meaningful purpose to work on. I mean, listen to that. It sounds so incredibly modern, doesn't it? But look closely at the cause. It's the endurance of one's leisure. It's not about having too much empty time on your hands. It's about being disconnected from a life of civic duty and real purpose. That's a huge difference. So, if our ancestors had these very purpose-driven kinds of restlessness, how on earth did we get our modern, kind of empty version of boredom? Well, the game changed completely when we took a sword and basically chopped life in two. Work on one side and everything else on the other. Right, so we have to see that modern boredom is basically a manufactured product. It's got a recipe. First, you take labor and you separate it from the rest of life. Make it repetitive, make it standardized. Then you chop time up with a clock, so it becomes a resource you can spend or waste. This creates a brand new, totally weird concept called leisure, this big, empty bucket of time. And finally, you add this secret ingredient, a crushing pressure to fill that bucket, to be interesting in your free time. And there you have it, boredom. And we really have to get our heads around just how new all of this is. Humans lived in that integrated, playful way for hundreds of thousands of years. This whole project of separating work from life, it's only about 10,000 years old. In the grand scheme of things, that's just a blank. We're absolutely still reeling from this change. The philosopher Blaise Pascal totally saw this coming centuries ago. He basically said that once you create this void, this empty leisure time, you're forced to confront yourself. And without some big structuring purpose like God or a great project, that can be a pretty terrifying place to be. Suddenly, the pressure was on us to invent our own meaning, to fill the silence. And that brings us right back to our own lives, doesn't it? We've inherited this invention, and our entire modern culture is pretty much a giant, complex machine designed to help us escape it. We are living in the golden age of distraction. You know, if exploring the history of a feeling like boredom is turning out to be anything but boring for you, and you want more explainers that connect the past to the feelings you have right now, this is probably a great time to subscribe to the Chronicler's Desk.
We love digging into these hidden histories that secretly shape our lives, so make sure you ring that bell so you don't miss what's next. I absolutely love this quote from the architect Robert Vintori because it just perfectly nails our modern trap. We're so terrified of boredom, the infinite consistency, the predictable, monotonous suburban life, that we just run screaming in the other direction, straight into chaos.
And that's the pendulum we're all swinging on, isn't it? Boredom, too much order, is the enemy we're always running from. So our entire consumer culture, social media, all of it promises us an escape into chaos. A world of constant stimulation, endless novelty. But as we all know, that escape can feel just as empty in the end. And this quote, this one from the artist Donald Judd, just crystallizes the whole thing. The most important quality something can have is no longer to be true or beautiful or good. The ultimate goal, the highest praise you can give anything, is that it's interesting, that it has successfully fought off boredom for a few precious minutes.
So that leaves us with a pretty big question, right? If boredom isn't some personal failing that we need to fix with a new hobby or another app, if it's actually a cultural condition that we've inherited, then what's the real solution? Maybe the answer isn't about finding better ways to fill the void. Maybe it's about asking why we see it as a void in the first place.